I do fear that this houseplant tour has turned into a look at my plants which are failing tour, which was not my intention, but here we are. Hello, I'm Jacinta. Welcome back to my channel, Past That Plant. Today it is a very sunny winter's day here in Melbourne, Australia, so let's do a houseplant tour. I last did a houseplant tour in January, so that was midsummer. My plant collection hasn't actually changed that much over this time. They have all grown though, of course. I have potted up some of my propagations and cut other plants. Some of them are looking a little bit worse for wear, like my poor string of pearls. And of course I do have a few new. And I of course have some new plants as well. As the seasons change, I tend to move my houseplants around a lot as well, so you will notice of course my beautiful big bird of paradise isn't in this corner like it always has been. It's actually downstairs now. I moved it because I repotted it and it was just way too big for this space after the repot. I have a few different plants in this corner now, so today I'll go through my plant collection and we can also do a little bit of plant care as well. I will tell you what plants I have where and why, show where I have grow lights, and just enjoy pottering around the houseplants. So let's go. We are in my office, and as we are already in this corner, let's start off with the two plants I have here. I have my lovely Cereus cactus. She's so lovely, but unfortunately did get a little bit sunburnt over summer, so I did have to cut off some sections. This is a cement planter. I also have my lovely Raven ZZ plant. I have been getting a few comments from people saying their ZZ does not grow as fast or as tall as this one. There are different varieties of ZZ plants, and there is a more compact version, which may be what you have if yours isn't growing. Very pretty. And they have a grow light above them. I know lots of people say that the ZZ is a low light houseplant, but whilst it might survive in low light, it's not going to thrive, and we want our houseplants to thrive. So if you live somewhere darker or you're in winter like I am, adding a few grow lights around can make a big difference. Have my lovely shelf here. Not that much has changed over the past 7 months. I still have my Calathea up the top here, and also my fiddle leaf fig propagations, which do need a top up. We'll add some water. I call it a propagation, but at this point it is a hydro plant because it has been in this water for well over a year now. On my shelf I also have quite a few Pilea propagations. This is one of them. I of course have Marvin's urn with his ashes and some fir. And also some Begonia propagations. So these cuttings are just from the last few months. They've got lovely roots. So just a few propagations. I have my white princess propagations. Another Calathea. Of course, Calathea and prayer plants are lower light houseplants, so they are absolutely fine on this shelf with no direct sunlight. The base of the shelf does get direct sunlight, so I do put sun-loving houseplants down the base. Currently, I have my Christmas cactus down there, the Schlumbergera, with two little spent balloons. So let's cut those off. Not a very prolific flowering plant for me this year, but that's alright. If you do have any tips to help this one flower, please let me know. I of course have lots of lovely hardback books on this shelf, both plants and fiction. A cute little globe, and then a wedding photo of me and my husband. I often get comments with people surprised that I'm married. I think it's quite obvious when I wear a wedding band and ring and there's photos of us everywhere. I think it's just perhaps because my house isn't very manly. I'm not sure if that's why, because I don't think I give off single gal energy. So let me know if you thought I was single and why. I guess it could be because he's very rarely in my videos, but he's not a content creator. He's currently in his office finishing off his PhD, so very different vibes there. But I digress. Let's get back to the houseplants. You can really see the bright sunlight starting to come over now. But over here we have a lineup of some of my favorite houseplants. The Monstera Thai Constellation, the Forever Beautiful Begonia maculata, my Philodendron Pink Princess, and very tall fiddle leaf fig, the Ficus larata. It does hit the ceiling now. You can't see that. She's very tall and leaning towards the sunlight. I don't usually have my Pink Princess here, but Sweet Ernie is here, who a lot of you would remember was Marvin's bestie. So Ernie's here for the week, and I don't want to get a HIPAA violation, but unfortunately he is quite rapidly losing his eyesight. And if you remember, Marvin was deaf, now Ernie's going blind. He does have diabetes, so I do jab him twice a day with insulin. And despite his mama doing everything she can, he is very quickly losing his vision. It's happened within a week or two. But the poor little darling has been running into quite a lot of my plant stands, so I've tried to push them off to the side. But we do what we can for our little loves, don't we? He's still happy though. As it is winter, I won't be doing a lot of watering today, but I do always mist my Begonia maculata, as this stops the tips of my foliage from going crispy. And my other plants as well. Well, the more tropical ones. Maybe some more trimming. My begonia did bloom over autumn, which was interesting. It is the first time it has bloomed for me, and there was 4 clusters of white blooms. I'm going to do some light pruning as well, as I can see some of the foliage is going yellow. I have propagated this one, of course. This entire plant is made from cuttings. I don't propagate single leaves though, I just prune them off. And of course, if you are propagating, you don't want to choose old, ugly foliage. You want sections of stem and pretty flowers, like the propagations I have on my bookshelf. There's a few starting to turn, but I probably don't need to actually cut them off just yet. You can, of course, find the full propagation and care of my Begonia maculata on my channel already, and I will link it. My lovely Philodendron Pink Princess has been chopped and propped twice in the last 7 months as well, and I did plant some of the rooted cuttings up with the mother plant, which is why it's lovely and full at the base now. 2 of the rooted cuttings I potted up with the mother plant, and another 2 I potted up in a new pot which is on my shelf. The full tutorials of how to propagate the Begonia maculata and the Philodendron Pink Princess are already on my channel, and care for all 4 of these houseplants is in my newly released ebook. So the Monstera Thai Constellation, Begonia maculata, Pink Princess and Fiddle Leaf. There is care for 10 plants in that ebook, and this is just 4 of them. Now let's get to some of my new houseplants. Sitting in the direct sunlight is my Monstera creme brulee. So this is another variegated Monstera, which is closely related to the Thai constellation. It has a lot of cream or white, so it needs a lot of direct sunlight. This one also sits in the direct sun for most of the day. You can see not every leaf is that pretty. I actually got this houseplant for free because it was so damaged. I did cut off some of the worst affected leaves. This is a new one and she looks absolutely beautiful, so I'm quite proud of that one. So you can see that a few damaged leaves shouldn't affect the overall health of the plant. Well, it depends why they're damaged. This one was from transport. If they're damaged due to pests, then you may have more of an issue. Another houseplant which is new to my collection is the Spiralis juncus, also called the corkscrew rush. It is just so fun and curly. It looks like it belongs to the cacti or succulent family, but it doesn't. It's a perennial evergreen. The care is also very different to cacti and succulents. Well, some is similar. They do love a lot of direct sunlight, and I mean a lot, 6 hours or so at least a day, but they also need a lot of water, which is obviously very different to a cacti or succulent. These plants grow in bogs, marshes, ponds, water. So they love to be very wet if you do have them in a potting mix like I do. You should water them daily so the potting mix doesn't dry out at all, and you can be very liberal with your watering. You can even water above the crown and this plant will be absolutely fine. More care tips for this one are also in my ebook. On that same shelf in the corner I have my Philodendron Pink Princess cuttings, which I potted up together. So this was 2 of the propagations I took from the lovely mother plant. I think it'll be quite cute once it grows, once we hit spring. On that shelf I also have a lot of different propagations, mainly the Philodendron Brazil and my beautiful string of hearts. The string of hearts is another sun lover. This shelf gets a lot of sunlight throughout the day, especially in the afternoon. This is a north facing room and I am in Australia. Now for the not so pretty. This was my pride and joy, the variegated string of pearls, which has really been through it over the last few months. She was looking so glorious and long at one point, and I was so proud because I was a certified string of pearls killer and it looks like I still hold that title. So she's nowhere near as lovely as she once was, but I did undergo a rescue mission and she's growing again, so we'll see. Basically, I didn't follow my own advice. I always tell you that this plant needs direct sunlight hitting the top of the plant. And then what did I do? I put it somewhere where it wasn't getting enough sunlight. And because of that, it became quite bald on top and then the strings started to just fall out of the planter. So I repotted the plant and salvaged the pearls I could and I wrapped them around the top. And this is what we're dealing with now. I think come summer, she will grow beautifully again. But that was a blow. She now sits on my desk and gets hours and hours of sunlight per day. Also on my desk, I have a little variegated prickly pear and a tiny Ficus elastica tenacious cutting, a little rubber plant. This was a propagation which I rooted up and it enjoys a lot of sunlight as well. I think that's it for my office plants. So let's move into my bathroom. You will notice it is quite bright in my bathroom. I have a skylight and also Jack and Jill doors, so there's sunlight coming in from either side, but there isn't any direct sunlight, so it is the perfect spot for another of my favorite houseplants, the maidenhair fern. I am starting to sound like a broken record here, but this one is also in my ebook. There is 2 full pages of how to keep your fern lovely and lush, as they are quite fussy. The maidenhair fern is probably my fussiest houseplant. It needs a lot of water, it needs a lot of humidity and lower light, which of course makes a bathroom the perfect space for it. Just like the Spiralis Juncus, I do water this one every day. It would do well in a self-watering pot, and I mist it every day as well. It of course gets the natural humidity created from my shower. If you subscribe to me, you would already know that I have houseplants all over my house. They are living decor to me. I don't have a plant room or a dedicated plant space. That is not to say there's anything wrong if that's what you have. I just prefer them everywhere. That being so, I'm quite strategic with where I put my houseplants. I don't want humidifiers everywhere and I don't want grow lights everywhere, so I put them in spaces where they naturally get more humidity if they need it, or naturally get more sunlight. I have a few hydro plants in here as well. I have a big hydro Monstera, which was a transfer from a potting mix, and a hydro pothos. And I also have a pothos in a potting medium. And a super cute variegated peace lily. This is the Spathiphyllum domino. Peace lilies also need a lot of water. If you think yours is being dramatic, water it more. It is also a lower light houseplant, so again, great for a room which doesn't get direct sunlight. Now onto my bedroom houseplants, and again, I have another wedding photo, husband. This area hasn't changed that much. I just still have the 2 houseplants on here. This one has grown a little more, but I honestly don't give it a lot of love, so I probably should. And my very sad watermelon peperomia, which is just in an atrocious state. It was the last time I did a houseplant tour as well, so at this point it really is my fault. I should probably repot it to start with, because this pot is way too big for this plant. But this one did suffer when my poor Marvin passed, and I was in a depressed state for months, and she did not get any care. And whilst most of my houseplants bounced back, this one just keeps getting worse and worse. And she was glorious once upon a time. So at this point, it's on me. I promise to you and myself, next time I do a houseplant tour, she'll be gore. I'm gonna make a promise right now to you and myself and my peperomia that by the time I film another houseplant tour, she will look better. Let's see. You can see Sweet Ernie splooting back there. In this corner, I still have my snake plant, who is growing quite well. It is in a darker corner, and snake plants don't need direct sunlight, but they definitely still need a bright spot. This is my Philodendron white princess. If you can believe it, she's in quite a leggy and sad state, which means that she's not getting enough sunlight, and I know this, and I just don't care. Which sounds terrible, but I feel like we all have a plant that we don't really love, and this is mine. I have chopped her 3 or 4 times now. You can see the evidence. Cut her there and there, and just the tip not that long ago. But previously I had done very big chop backs, as in cut this plant in half, and it just grew back as ugly. But recently I just snipped the tip, and since doing that we have the top bit growing as expected, but I have finally have some branching. Perhaps this white princess is finally going to branch out and maybe I will love her again. But I have taken propagations twice. The first lot of propagations I potted up into a new plant, which I will show you shortly. And the second lot are the water propagations that you saw at the start of this video. So I have been keeping the cuttings and I pot them up together to try and make a bushier plant. Maybe just like with the peperonia, I should make a promise to you, the plant and myself, that I will give this one a glow up. I would love to know if anyone else has beef with one particular plant for no real reason. Okay, on to the next. My neighbour across the way is just staring at me through the window. But there is a window here. This is south facing, and this room gets the afternoon and evening sunlight in summer. In winter, there's no direct sunlight coming in, so I do have a grow light here as well. You can see in one of my last videos that I added a LED grow light bulb to this regular lamp setup, and it looks really pretty, so you don't have to have an ugly factory setting for your grow lights. But on my nightstand I have obviously a lovely euphorbia, which has really just shot up recently. As it is winter, there is not many leaves on the stems. She's still lovely. I might actually need to repot her come spring, possibly into terracotta. I last repotted this one in 2024, so 2 years ago, and she's really shot up. I don't recommend adding stones to the top of your plants unless they're pretty. The top of mine has lots of quartz stones on it. Good vibes. And love for the bedroom. Anywho, I also have a Monstera adansonii. This Monstera adansonii was starting to go yellow. I did fertilize it with an aeroid plant food 2 weeks ago and added the grow light, so I'm hoping that helps because she's not looking her best. Of course, it is winter, as I've said multiple times, but it is winter and it is normal for your houseplants to go dormant, for the growth to slow, and for them not to look their best. Don't take it personally, although I do. I have a basket which sits right in front of the window. On it is my Ficus lyrata bambino, which I have chopped 3 times now. So each of the stems I cut right back, as again this plant was looking shabby, and if a plant's not looking nice, it's getting chopped. Chopped, yes. Discarded, no. So all of the propagations have rooted. There is algae growth, I know, I don't want to talk about it. And this is one of the cuttings which rooted and then I potted up. Only wants to be lifted. So I have the mother plant and also the first propagation I took, potted up. Obviously this one is well and truly ready to pot up, and I will come spring. My propagations are now just sitting on my landing here, as is my Miranda, which is currently in timeout because again she's looking dreadful. Do I know how to look after houseplants? Anyway, we don't need to look at her. She's not camera ready. Every winter she goes through it. Come spring she'll look beautiful again, but I may chop off some of the yellowing foliage there. These plants need a lot of water as well, and I don't think I was giving her enough. And as a result, I have some very crispy foliage. Fern was quite happy when I had it in the bathroom, but my fern takes priority, and as it's grown, the Miranda no longer fit in the same spot, so I moved her and she's really thrown a fit. So again, that's on me. A quick coffee break. Iced latte in North Winter. I do feel that this houseplant tour has turned into a look at my plants which are failing tour, which was not my intention, but here we are. Got my Begonia rock. Again, not looking great compared to my maculata, but I'm hoping in spring she'll do something magic. On this floor, I don't have new plants, but I have moved most of them around. Let me show you. My big bed of paradise, which used to be upstairs in my office, is now obviously against this wall here. I think it looks beautiful fanned out against the wall and over my mirror. So I have my big bed of paradise down here now. It is not that sunny right now, but come spring and summer, this spot will get direct sunlight, so it should be absolutely fine here. I have also swapped my fiddly fig, the Cactus and my plant stand around. This one was up against the wall, and in winter it wasn't getting enough light there. So I've now moved it right in front of these big wall windows so that it gets plenty of light. With my fiddly fig in the middle of the room, I now have my plant stand up against the wall. Let's have a look. You can see I've got full windows here, so quite a lot of indirect light is coming in. Up the top I have my Pilea peperomioides. And I have a smaller one here, which was one of its pups. The Philodendron White Princess propagations. These are the original cuttings which I potted up together. It is much fuller than the ugly mother plant. My lovely mixed planter, which has Scindapsus, Monstera, Siltepecana, Pothos and Philodendron Brazil. This one was also made from cuttings. This is the little baby Pilea, or Chinese money plant. I do twist all of these quite often so they don't grow lopsided. This was another propagation, the very first fiddly fig cutting I took. Now potted up, obviously. Growing quite tall. A lovely cascading Peperomia rocabade. Obviously my watermelon peperomia is not doing well, but at least I can grow this one. And then another Monstera adansonii, which is staked on a bendy cocoa pole. Very cute. I know I said this is going to be a plant care video as well as a houseplant tour, but I did just take most of these houseplants out into the rain. So they've been watered and had a leaf clean already, which is why I'm not doing that much care right now. But I hope you're still enjoying it. My Ficus elastica tenaceae, which is growing so many beautiful new leaves along the stem. I now have a Philodendron sawtooth, which is a new plant. I got it at the same time as I got my Spiralis juncus and the creme brulee. Very fun. This is a philodendron which doesn't climb, so it doesn't need a support, unlike the white princess and pink princess. Next to the TV I have another grow light, which is very cute, and I will link it. And there's also a switch there, which I think is further proof that I have a husband. My lovely neon pothos has had a chop since summer, and I have also potted up some of the previous cuttings in the top, so it is much bushier now, although it is a vine, so it's not supposed to be super bushy. But she just have a good soak, so I'm going to hang her back up in her spot. I do have this lovely peperomia sunrise as well, which means I have 3 peperomia, 2 are growing well, 1 is not. Those odds aren't too bad. This plant does not need any direct sunlight, so it just sits on my coffee table, and that is fine. You can see by how full this peperomia is that it's definitely getting enough light. Climbing up my staircase, I of course have my Philodendron Brazil. In summer it was reaching the ceiling, so it has had quite a chop back. If you watched my first houseplant tour video, you would have seen that this does get direct sunlight throughout the day in summer, not in winter. I find the Philodendron Brazil and Sawtooth do not need as much sunlight as the Pink Princess does because of the variegation. Of course, I have my portrait of Marvin, and then the pothos, which I just showed you. That is another lower light houseplant, so it doesn't need direct sunlight. I often get asked, don't want to block Marvin. I often get asked questions about how my Philodendron Brazil is attached to the wall, and I do show in a few of my videos, such as when I last repotted it. It is attached to my wall with nails and just little plant clips. Very thin nails. I find these cause less damage than command hooks can. Those sticky ones are a nightmare to get off and pull the paint off and part of the wall as well. I find a small nail is a better option. Another quite cute mixed planter that I have, which I don't often show in videos, and I did forget how pretty it was. I know this spot looks quite dark right now, but I promise it does get some sunlight throughout the day, just not right now. This is my living area where I have my Hydro Peace Lily. It's not blooming right now as it is winter, but she does flower in spring. You can see the roots are quite green. The green doesn't come off. It's not algae growth though. These roots are green because the morning sunlight comes through and hits this terrarium, and that is what has turned the roots from white to green over time. So it's not algae, it doesn't come off, it doesn't hurt the plant. I'm just going to give it some plant food. I do this once a month year round. And I don't change the water very often, but I do top it up often. So you want fresh water so there is fresh oxygen getting into those green roots. I then have a few propagations up here and another grow light. This is obviously a clip-on grow light, and it's probably my least aesthetic one, but that's fine. These are all water propagations. So this is a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. It's known as the mini Monstera, but it is not a Monstera at all. This one is Monstera adansonii, which is in fact a true Monstera. Obviously this is well and truly ready to pot up, but I like having a few water propagations here. The aforementioned neon pothos cuttings, very long roots, and just a regular golden pothos cutting. I do have another wedding photo here, but I am laughing because I've just realized that one of my pothos leaves is covering my husband's face. But you can see me and Marvin, so that's the main thing. Obviously this is my kitchen, so I thought a photo of us eating ice cream at the wedding was very fitting. This is another small loo. I just have two plants in here, a mixed cacti planter and a compact ZZ plant. Can you see that? Hopefully, as well as a lot of art, and you can see there's some direct sunlight coming in here right now. So in spring I am planning to add some hanging plants here once I figure out how to. I have been through most of the rooms in my house, not all of them, and not the outdoor spaces again. I know in my last houseplant tour you did want to see my outdoor garden, but again it's winter and it doesn't look that good, so I promise I'll do it in spring. But as you can see, I have houseplants all throughout my house, so it doesn't make sense for me to have humidifiers in every room or grow lights in every room. It's not confined to one space. Obviously, I am in Australia, so I am lucky to live somewhere with a lot of light year round, even in the dead of winter. Having natural sunlight makes a real difference, so I only need to add a few grow lights in my darker corners. Of course, this makes plant care a lot easier. If I lived somewhere much darker, I would definitely choose different houseplants. A lot of these ones, including my fiddly fig and the bird of paradise, need a lot of sunlight to thrive. The care for both of those plants is in my ebook as well. I am also very lucky to live somewhere with great tap water. It is some of the best drinking tap water in the world, which of course means it is fine to use on most houseplants. I do touch on this in my ebook, but where you live, it makes such a difference to what plants will thrive. So I live somewhere that naturally has a lot of sunlight and then also has great water, so I don't have to buy distilled water or filtered water to water my plants. I do think I have a green thumb now, but I didn't always. I do think living somewhere which is compatible with tropical plants does help me as well. So don't feel bad if you have beautiful variegated plants or sun-loving plants and they are not thriving. You may need to adjust the plants you have to suit your climate. If you live somewhere that is darker, I recommend going for lower light houseplants and true low light houseplants, not snake plants or ZZ plants, but going for peace lily, Calathea, ferns. They all will thrive in a darker and cooler environment. I can do a separate video on true low light houseplants if that's of interest, but I did want to share that I think plant care is 50% knowledge, 20% luck, and 30% of where you live. I obviously have dogs around a lot as well. I had sweet Marvin for 16 years. I have Ernie probably a week out of every month. Recently you would have seen Quinn and Alfie in my videos, so I often have dogs around. No, these houseplants are not pet friendly, but these dogs are all 5 years or older, so they're not puppies and they have no interest in eating any of these plants, so I'm not worried about it. If you do have a puppy or a dog which likes to eat the plants, then be very careful with which ones you choose. I do have a blog post on pet safe houseplants that you can read if you like, but it is another thing I just wanted to flag because I know people often see that I have dogs here and then assume that the houseplants may be pet safe, and they're not. We need to protect our little furry loves because they are gone before you know it. Last time I did show you inside my garage, which, shocker, is basically the same now except I have a dryer now. And then also my husband's office, which again is basically the same. I think I put a new shelf in there, but the plants are the same. And as I mentioned at the start, he is doing his PhD, so I don't really want to kick him out to show you the same room that I showed you in summer. But you can go back and watch that if you're interested in the man cave plants. He's got snake plants, palm, another hydra monstera, and a little fiddle leaf rescue down in there. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this winter houseplant tour, and I'll see you in the next video. Gotta finish my coffee now. Two minutes in and I've already got 3 bloopers. Great. And water the floor apparently, which is growing so many beautiful new leaves along the nearly lost the whole plant. And of course I do have a few new Can you hear that? And I of course have some new plants as well.